Debo.
Smitty, I'm reading a report that says Debo Samuel's getting traded to the New England Patriots. Is this true?
Probably not. Probably not. It's smoke season. But here we go. This guy right here, maybe destroying all credibility. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he's right. Maybe he's right. Maybe we'll be saying, Chase, good job. But the Patriots are reportedly sniffing around on a Debo Samuel trade. You know, maybe I'll give this guy some credit. Maybe they are. But it doesn't mean that the Niners are sniffing back, I guess we could say. A lot of people could want Deebo Samuel. Doesn't mean they're going to get him. Now, what if they offer the number 14 overall draft pick? Okay? The Patriots have the number 14 overall pick. Could they? Could I envision a world where the San Francisco 49ers or any team would contemplate trading a player like Deebo for the number 14 overall pick? Because that's Addison, maybe. That's maybe JSN, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Maybe. And so there is a conversation that needs to be had. Doesn't mean that a trade's going down. I don't need keyboard warrior William to be like, Smitty, how dumb are you? This is not going to happen. I have not watched your video yet, Smitty. I have not watched your video yet.
But this is ridiculous. Let me explain to you something. Debo Samuel's not why would they trade him?
I know, Bob, Joe, worried William, petrified Peter. I get it, bro. I get it. I understand, but we're here to talk about it because it's news. Whether we shoot it down or not. Alvin Kamara indicted. We got Saquon Barkley, Danny Dimes news. The fantasy football show begins now.
Live from the fantasyfootballshow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
For the first time in my life, I needed a breath. Look, take a deep breath, Smitty. Okay, I know. There's news. We're here to talk about it. We're here to do it live. This is what we do. When news breaks, we go live. It doesn't matter if we agree with it. It doesn't matter if we're shooting it down. We're here to tell a story. We're here to depict and decipher the smoke season. And this is a big rumor. It's spreading around social media and Twitter like crazy. Do I believe it's going to have legs? No, I don't. Do I think Shanahan would pick up the phone and go, hello, this is Kyle. Yeah.
We would like, this is Bill. This is Bill's assistant. This isn't Bill, it's his assistant. We would like to sniff Debo Samuel. Is that okay?
That's a little weird request there, Bill's assistant. We're going to go ahead and pass.
What if we offered the number 14 overall draft selection?
Okay. Let me get back to you. So Shanahan hangs up the phone because any logical person would say, wait a minute, let's take a look at it. So let's just break it down for a second. Let's pretend we are dumb Donovans, okay? And we want to trade away this guy Debo Samuel that's a perfect fit for the system. He knows the system. The Niners are in win now mode, and they want to reset the clock on this wide receiver situation. Let's just pretend we are dumb Donovans, okay? So we go to the draft board. We look at number 14. We assess that maybe Jordan Addison's going to be there. Maybe we assess that JSN, Jackson Smith, and Jigba will be there at the 14 overall pick. I don't think that both of them will be. I don't know that either one of them will be. So let's pretend you thought that one of them would fall. Let's say Jordan Addison will fall. The top two wide receivers, or Johnston. Some people like Johnston. Would you trade Debo Samuel for a resetting of the clock, small dollar amount situation like Jordan Addison? On its surface, maybe you would. You know, it's not the craziest thing in the world to say that if New England offered that. But would New England offer the number 14 overall pick for Deebo, who's going to cost a boatload of money? Probably not. But if this was on the table, that's when you would have a coach like Shanahan going, no, number 14 overall? Hold on a second, we'll get back to you. But here's the problem. Here's why this makes no sense. Here's why smoke season is in full effect. Debo Samuel, let's pull up his contract real quick. Debo Samuel contract has a big dead cap hit of let me pull this up here real quickly. Debo Samuel's dead cap here. Contract. Let's see here. Debo Samuel contract dead cap. It looks like it is about 9.2. No, hold on. Cap hit of 8.6 million and a dead cap of 35 million. A dead cap of 35 million. I think this is correct. Let me put this on screen so you guys can see what I'm looking at. This is crazy. Okay. You don't trade a player like Deebo Samuel with a dead cap. That's crazy. A dead cap of 35 million. What are people looking at? What are people looking at where they think this is a trade that could make sense from that standpoint? So real quickly, before I go into the dead cap numbers and the stats and the facts of this situation, on its surface, 14 overall, let's just say New England never mentioned in the sniffing situation that they've been sniffing Deebo for a 14 overall pick. But if they did want to surrender the 14 overall, and you could get Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, or you could get Jordan Addison, and you were guaranteed they'd be there at 14. If you were a team, let's say, and I'm not saying the Lions can't win right now, but I said this on a minute ago. If you were to trade, let's say, St. Brown for the 14 overall, which would be similar. Like Deebo, St. Brown, very similar wide receivers in a sense that they're very important to their team. They're the number one wide receivers to their team. There's another wide receiver on the roster in Jameson Williams and Brandon Ayuk. And the thing is, the Lions have a shot at maybe creating this winning situation, this blueprint of, let's say, a poor man's Cincinnati Bengals blueprint, right? You might have a team in the Lions that could win playoff games this year. You really do. But let's pretend you thought the Lions were 2, 3, 4 years away. Let's just pretend that. Would you trade St. Brown and reset the clock and get a Jordan Addison? Maybe. But if you're the Niners and you're in win now mode, and you're going to be hoping and dreaming that Jordan Addison or JSN become Deebo Samuel good, especially in terms of fit for your offense, you're gonna try something like that when you're in win now mode? I don't think so. So number one, it doesn't make sense there. But if you look at the dead cap numbers, so 2023, let's see if I can put a dash or a line under here to highlight this. Let's say. Let me put this right up here at the top. I'll make this a dotted line. So let's use this. So let's say, for example, this is 2023 right here. His cap hits 8.6 mil. His dead cap hit is 35 mil. Why would you do that in a win now situation? You wouldn't. The answer is you wouldn't. So none of this makes sense. So sniffing around. Now, I'm not saying, again, maybe this report right here is accurate. The New England Patriots didn't have their information or facts straight, and they go sniffing around. But who's going to trade Deebo? No one's trading Deebo in these two scenarios. Win now mode. You don't even know if at 14 one of the wide receivers is going to be there. Who knows if they even use the pick on a wide receiver? But you're in win now mode. You can't replace Deebo Samuel for a little while because sometimes rookies will be slow moving, especially a rookie, I think, in Kyle Shanahan's system would be a little slower moving than normal. Look at Gray. Danny Gray wasn't even used, So it just doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. Maybe they are sniffing. Maybe Bill's taking a big whiff and he wants to see what Deebo, this situation could smell like. I don't understand the whole sniffing around thing, but it is what it is. The Giants, let's move on because Deebo ain't getting traded. The Giants have signed wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins, who was set to become an exclusive rights free agent. One of the best stories of their offseason. Their season in 2022. I love this kid. Isaiah Hodgins has potential satellite men capability. Satellite men are the reserve list, the bullpen for the Moon Men.
Satellite men. Space cadets in training.
He could hit that list. I like him so much. He could hit the satellite men list. I like him a lot. I don't know that he'll ever graduate to the Moon Men list, but I love Hodgins. He's a talented kid, and this is a great move. And on the Giants note, Danny Dimes, this report right here, is from ESPN. confirms the expectation is that impending free agent Daniel Jones will average more than $35 million per season under his new contract. First of all, this is worded weird. When I first read this, I'm like, his new contract? Where are my notes? Where's my script? Where's my script? I don't see that he signed under his new contract. Here's the NFL script. I got it in front of me. I don't see this. This was not updated on the NFL script. This might be the old one. This might be the old script. Let me throw this one away because according to this report, it looks as though his new contract. He's not getting a new contract, I don't think, or he may not. He might get franchise tagged. So I don't know what the wording is weird here. It's not breaking news, though, this writer reports or this NBC write-up, though it is now a trend. No fewer than 3 reports have pegged Jones earning at least $35 million per season and perhaps as much as $40 million. The cap is the franchise tag is $32.4 million. I don't think the Giants can afford to give Barkley and Danny Dimes both new contracts, but maybe they do. Maybe they move the numbers around. As I've said before, my own words, the cap is essentially fictitious. You can just bump things around. They got boardrooms of people just thinking stuff up. Let's move this here. Let's get rid of the vending machines. Let's go ahead and let's get rid of lockers. Like we could save so much money. You know what we could also do? Let's get rid of helmets entirely and just go with the cone heads only. I think if we played with cone heads, we'd have far less concussions. There's ways to save money. And these guys are just in a room thinking stuff up. So maybe they are capable of signing Danny Dimes to a multi-year deal that would be around the franchise tag amount of money. $32 to $35 million per season on a brand new contract. It's possible. I think ultimately Debo, who kind of fixed Danny Dimes, is looking. This whole offense is looking pretty good. I think Debo would do wonders with a Lamar, with an Aaron Rodgers, with a Derek Carr. I'd much rather honestly see that, but at the same time, maybe Danny Dimes. Look how people viewed Josh Allen. Now, granted, I said Josh Allen would be a top 5 quarterback in fantasy football and the NFL. When he was a rookie, and people laughed and called him garbage, said he was inaccurate, he could only run, and Josh Allen looks like a phenomenal, elite, top 4, locked and loaded quarterback for the future, even though there's a lot of hate on him right now because people they got their goggles on. They got their 2022 playoff goggles on, and they start saying that Josh Allen can't bounce back. Josh Allen's going to choke. He's a choke artist. Josh Allen's going to be fine. Josh Allen's going to rotate with Mahomes and Burrow and Hurts as being that top 4 quarterback in fantasy football and NFL quarterbacking. I truly believe Josh Allen will rise back up and be talked about as this is the guy. I know Mahomes is the real cute answer right now, and I truly believe Mahomes, football-wise, NFL-wise, is the closest thing we'll have for a while to Tom Brady, with Joe Burrow chasing him, trying to surpass him, but he's got to win a Super Bowl, right? So Joe Burrow's behind him. But I think these are the two Tom Brady's in training. Whether they actually get far along on the Tom Brady track or not, I'm not saying they catch Tom Brady. I'm just saying the two molded next Tom Brady quarterbacks are Mahomes and Joe Burrow. But if anybody thinks that we won't in 2 years, 1 year, 2.5 years, 3 years be saying Josh Allen's the guy, I think that's crazy. Josh Allen has all the talent in the world. My point being, circling back, Danny Dimes, I don't think he's got the ability to even be half of what Josh Allen is. And I thought that Josh Allen would be what Josh Allen is. So I don't think my assessment's wrong, but I will say that Daboll's so good at molding, sculpting, and building up quarterbacks. He took a guy I didn't believe in and made him very good. Not great, but very good. Does he deserve a new contract? Maybe. Maybe Debo turns him into a top 12 to 14 quarterback from NFL standards, not fantasy, but NFL standards. And maybe in fantasy too, because he runs so much. He looks a lot like a poor man's version of Josh Allen in some ways. He does. He runs a ton. Maybe Danny Dimes does have great success under Debo, and they sign him to a nice big contract. So that's possible. But here's the other piece of news. This is the Saquon Barkley part. Is Saquon Barkley's due his money too? And the thinking early on was that Barkley would get his contract extension, or he would get, let's see here, it's, or his new contract. The belief in league circles is, according to the same individual from ESPN, League Circle says $14 million per season would be enough to keep impending free agent Saquon Barkley with the Giants. And the Giants are expected to probably franchise tag Danny Dimes over Saquon, but let's say they work out a long-term deal with Danny Dimes, and Danny Dimes takes a little bit of a hometown discount thinking, look, I think this is where I'm going to have the most success, and I want Barkley to be here. So let me accept $32 million. Let me do some kind of front-loaded bonus type of thing, restructure the contract in a way, take less guarantee or take less salary and take more of a signing bonus. Whatever the case may be. It's possible. It's in the realm of possibility. Running backs make such little money comparatively to quarterbacks. It's not crazy to think Danny Dimes signs a deal that's kind of team friendly, but also gives him a lot of upfront money, and they get to ink Saquon Barkley. But there is a very strong shot. 95 of you in here, only 26 thumbs up, says Terry. Terry says punch that thumb up button. There's a real strong shot. Thank you, Terry. That this team does franchise tag Danny Dimes, and they sign Saquon to a long-term deal. But the Giants are going to be a team to be reckoned with in the coming season, I think. And so I'm excited for that. I'm excited for what Debo is doing. They're a very exciting team. They're doing very good, way outperforming expectations for sure. Alvin Kamara, we broke this earlier, but it doesn't hurt to talk about it again because it's huge news. Alvin Kamara, a Clark County grand jury has indicted Alvin Kamara on his three accomplices on conspiracy to commit battery and battery resulting in substantial bodily harm. What does this mean? Indictment isn't conviction. Indictment is like when Deshaun Watson, when the civil cases are against him, right? He had the 23 civil cases at one point. The grand jury looked at every single one of them and said, can the DA actually indict? And they came to a conclusion that the evidence, whether it was chain of command faulty, whether it was some other reason or rationale, didn't mean that they didn't think he was, didn't do it, or they didn't have enough evidence to say that we believe he did it with a reasonable, articulate amount of confidence. But there was some reason that the case wouldn't have had success in the grand jury level. So they asked themselves that, and you can indict, they always say you can indict a ham sandwich, and they couldn't indict Watson on those 23 counts. So a lot of people come to Watson's defense and say, well, if you can indict a ham sandwich and you couldn't indict him on one of the 23 counts, they're all fictitious. And so there's that argument against Watson, right? But Watson has admitted some of the stuff that took place, just not to anything criminal. Full circle back to Kamara. Kamara was indicted. Indicted means the grand jury, the DA feels that the grand jury will indict him. The DA believes that there's enough evidence to move forward and go criminally against Alvin Kamara. So if they thought this case wasn't strong, they wouldn't have brought it to the grand jury, and the grand jury is indicting him. They're moving forward. Okay? So the big question here is what happens to Kamara in 2023? The answer is we don't know. The answer is he's going to court on March 2nd. We don't know if this is bad verbiage or people are unclear as to the extent of the case or the process that the place in the process that we are. This could be a hearing of some sort, and it's just worded like there's going to be a court date and the court's going to begin. It's a court date for maybe when the next proceeding will be or whatever. So we need more information. We don't know if we're going to end up going down a very long road to where this court case doesn't even begin until September or October or June or March. It's been going a long time, right? But they've been pushing it down the road, and there's no guarantee that Alvin Kamara and his legal team won't be able to push it further. They may not be able to. They may be able to. They may be able to drag this thing out. And is there a possibility that Alvin Kamara plays without being suspended at all in 2023? It's possible, but I believe since he's been indicted, the NFL has a real strong opportunity to put him on the commissioner exempt list paid, which is not a form of punishment in a sense. It's like going to Bob in accounting and saying, Bob, I know you're typing up TPS reports, come over here. Bob walks over. You say, Bob, you are being indicted for beating up people in the elevator and stealing the chicken from their chicken salads in the fridge, Bob. We've been going to the fridge. Margaret goes to her salad every day, and the chicken's missing. You've been taking chicken out of her chicken bowl, her salad every single day, and then you beat someone up in the elevator according to these allegations. Now, Bob, you might be innocent, but we're going to send you home. Go take care of business. We'll pay you. And you sit back, relax, do whatever you got to do. Come back when it's all resolved. That's paid leave. That's not punishment. It's get you out of the office because you're a distraction. Okay? So the NFL can put him on the exempt list paid. It's not a form of punishment, even though he doesn't get to play and the livelihood of these guys is on the field producing. And he's going to lose his time, right? He's going to lose his ability to maybe get another situation or contract or whatever. So it is a form of punishment to the player, but in a sense, it's not. And people think that the league can't do this. The league can. The league can put anybody on paid leave and not punish them while they work out this situation. Is Kamara going to actually go to court during the week and play games on Sundays? I don't think the NFL wants anything to do with that. However, take a breath, Smitty. However, this is definitely one of those things where we don't know that. As Tony the Tiger, the attorney, let me see if Tony's willing to come on the show right now. Let me see if I can get Tony on here. As Tony the Tiger attorney has always said to us, the NFL has a heavy hand one moment. On live again, I'm going to message Tony. On live now, if able to call. Let's see if Tony will dial into the show. The NFL has a heavy hand one moment, and then the next moment they don't. And so it's hard to predict what the NFL is going to do. We could pretend like we know. We can use logic. And let me be honest with you. All last year was me using my logic about what was going to happen in 2022, and it didn't end up unfolding. Now, it's hard to predict these things, so I'm not like trying to take an L on my Alvin Kamara coverage last year. I just firmly believe that everybody else dropped the ball. I felt like when we went live at midnight to break that the footage was released of Alvin Kamara and his entourage just blasting this guy. He was unconscious. They were kicking him. They were doing all kinds of cranial damage to this guy who was unconscious, lifeless, and they're just kicking away. And we reported on it. We went live at midnight. We thought, okay, we're the first people to go live on this. There was nobody on YouTube going live on this. We were the only ones going live on that footage being released. It was granted grainy footage. Doesn't mean that the original footage is grainy.
Smitty, there's no way Alvin Kamara's getting convicted. That footage is not clear.
Bob, that's not the real footage. That's Steve standing there with his droid. 5-year-old version of the newest droid, and he's looking at the screen that's this far away, and he's trying to record it with under his armpit, pretending he's stretching, trying to get footage so he can dial up TMZ and say, I've got the footage, and they offer him pennies on the dollar because his footage is crap. So yeah, granted the footage was garbage, okay, but it didn't ignite any kind of controversy, and I don't know why. To this day, I still don't know why. The rest of the world, the rest of the fantasy world, the rest of the news world, who love stories, they love clickbait, they love things. Nobody cared. And honestly, I do care on a personal level because I'm judging him, granted, innocent till proven guilty in terms of a court of law, yes, but I do have the right to have a judgment, a perception of a person. And the footage is blatantly clear that he and his entourage beat this man, and while he was unconscious and not moving, including Kamara, according to a report, laid a kick in. And then a couple other guys kept kicking. The guy was there motionless, had cranial damage. Granted, we don't know how much crap talk this guy was doing to Kamara. I'm not saying somebody can't be driven to a certain like tipping point, but the story goes like this, and this is what will play out in court. Alvin Kamara and his entourage were walking, getting in said elevator. This guy must have been just yapping away. He's a public figure. He's a controversial public figure on an NFL team where there's all kinds of other fan bases going to be just chattering away. Alvin Kamara, you stink, blah, blah, blah. Who knows what he said? He probably was belligerent. Alvin Kamara put his hand on the man's chest. And let's see, what's this? What's William saying? If you have enough money, you have nothing to worry about, period. Not true. Not true, William, because this can't go away. This is a criminal situation. There's no settling. You'd have to plea. Plea means you're admitting guilt. Plea means you're accepting something bad to avoid something more significant. If Alvin Kamara pleads out of the situation, it's to plea out of going to jail or to go to prison. if he pleads out of this, is to plea into a lesser charge and admit the guilt. There's no settling out of this. Money can't save you on criminal. Now, maybe he is the best attorneys that end up getting it thrown out somehow, like or get a conviction overturned or whatever, or they convince a jury that he's not guilty. Whatever the case may be, like money can maybe buy you the best defense, and you can figure that out. I understand, but you can't get out of this, William, through a plea. Plea is admitting guilt. Plea, suspension. If he pleads, suspension. If he admits guilt, NFL acts. He was arrested on this. NFL can act. The NFL can act. He was arrested. Yeah, they need to let the legal process play out, but he was arrested for this, and then we've had all this ensue after. People forget he was arrested. He was arrested at the onset of this. The NFL is probably itching to do something. They've just been treading lightly. And at some point when the spotlight gets turned back on and people start paying attention and people start actually caring about this situation instead of defending the player over and over and over, then we might see, if more people are talking about it, we might see more pressure for the NFL to do something. But again, heavy hand one moment, no discipline, or shockingly different result the next minute. The NFL is weird like that, and I don't understand why the NFL does that. I don't get it. Roger Goodell's all about the money, right? And maybe he sees Kamara as a money machine one moment, and then maybe today he's like, hey, Alvin Kamara had a bad year. Hold on, let's check the script. Alvin Kamara is going to be suspended for the entire 2023 NFL season. The script told me. The script. Holy smokes.
The script strikes again.
The script struck again. Look, Alvin Kamara ain't no moneymaker anymore, and he ain't no more of a money bagger. He isn't a money bag, cash machine, ticket selling monster anymore. This is a guy that had a really bad season, and he might have fallen off. We don't know, but most certainly we're looking at a potential 6 to 8 game suspension, I would say, at a minimum. And if the NFL doesn't strike before the season starts, if they strike before the season starts with punishment and discipline, again, to the tune of the exemplis paid, as they want to have a perception of innocent till proven guilty, we're not going to punish you. But if they strike, and they strike in terms of like, we're going to strike and say to Alvin Kamara, hey, go take care of this. Get everything in order. We support you. Paid leave. Get out of here. But we support you. Get out of here. We don't want you on the field. Get out of the spotlight. We don't need you in front of. But we support you. Paid. Okay. Then that's when the NFL, I think, feels like they've covered their bases carefully. So it's going to be interesting. Do I know what's going to happen? No. Am I going to pretend like a suspension is guaranteed this year? No. But he's going to be punished. And he skated by last year. They pushed the suspension back. They continued to do it, to my surprise. But mainly because no one covered it but us. We went live when that footage broke. Nobody else went live. I thought, okay, we're just on the ball. Okay, we're on the ball. It's midnight. No one else went live. The next morning, no one went live. The next day, no one went live. The next day, no videos surfaced anywhere. Fantasy outlets everywhere, NFL outlets, news sources, news fantasy shows, NFL fantasy shows, NFL news shows. Nobody was talking about it. There were no videos. Nobody cared. I cared. And I'm not just trying to get clicks or views. I cared because, in my opinion, and I'm entitled to my own opinion, this guy doesn't really deserve to be defended given the footage and what I believe to be pretty well-known evidence that's sitting out there. Now, innocent till proven guilty, do I think that criminally something should happen to him before he has a chance to go to court? No, but my opinion of him doesn't need to require proof and no reasonable suspicion or doubt or anything. I can think whatever I want from an opinion perspective. Do I ever want an individual in the United States to ever be convicted without getting a right to defend themselves? No, it's always innocent until proven guilty from that perspective. But I have every right, if I want, to say this guy appears to me, from all indications, to be POS. And so, and the same thing goes for some other players in the NFL that are involved in domestic violence and abuse and things like that. I don't condone any of that. Now, I'm able to separate it. I'm able to talk about Kamara's value. I'm even able to draft Kamara because I get down to business when it comes to fantasy football. But the news coverage and all this is how I feel. Alvin Kamara and his buddies beat a man. And maybe the man deserved to potentially, I don't know. Like back in the olden days, you run your mouth, you get socked. It was, that's the way it was. We don't live in that world anymore. And not to mention, this wasn't that. This wasn't a guy getting popped or something. This was a guy maybe running his mouth. Maybe he deserved a little bit of what was coming to him to some degree. And I'm not suggesting that any violence is ever good. But like if, let's say, whatever, he got what was coming to him. This wasn't it. This wasn't he got what was coming to him. This was a man unfairly getting trampled by an entourage of people, unconscious, getting kicked over and over and over, and the footage is there. Like, you can see the blurry footage that got released. That's not the raw footage. That's not the real footage. That's not the footage that they're going to look at in court. That's not the footage that the NFL has already seen. The NFL is waiting to take action when it's prudent for them in terms of money and operation. They're not doing what's right. The NFL is only going to do what they need to do when they need to do it. The NFL's already seen this footage. You know that they have. They've done their internal investigation. They just sit back and wait until they're forced. Their hand is forced because they won't make a move that they think will spread more controversy or bad light on the NFL. They would cover it up probably. This is just my opinion. They would cover up something for as long as they could to avoid a controversy versus call something out and have a spotlight casted on something that didn't need a spotlight casted on it. That's the way the NFL appears to operate to pretty much everybody. That's an opinion, but that's my opinion. I'm entitled to have it. And Mitch says the NFL cares when they get NFL only cares if it gets called out. Otherwise, they ignore the stuff. That's exactly my point. So I agree with you, Mitch. Phone lines are open if you want to dial in. But Alvin Kamara, in my opinion, missing at least 6 to 8 games, potentially the entire season, if the NFL strikes early with the commissioner exemplis paid option, if they're worried about perception. If they're not worried about perception, this thing could go all year long again. It really could. Dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Hopefully Tony calls in because I really would like to get Tony's opinion. Double A can call in as well. Double A, I would love to have you call into the show if you're watching right now. I don't blame Debo if he leaves. Kyle Shanahan is the problem. Look, Niner by nature, you are the only diehard. I mean, like diehard. Like, you are one of the biggest diehard Niner followers that I know and that watches my show. You don't even play fantasy football, but you are one of the most dedicated followers I have. You are one of the more knowledgeable football followers in here, just football watching individuals, and I appreciate the stance you have on Kyle Shanahan, the honest stance that he's the problem. Like, he's the good and the bad in this situation. Kyle Shanahan is an amazing play caller. He's an amazing scheme guy. If he was the offensive coordinator, I'd have no problems whatsoever. And he's the reason the Niners got where they got. Aside from the what I believe to be John Lynch trade for CMC, which I bet you Kyle Shanahan wasn't even fully on board, but I don't know the answer to that. I'm speculating. I'm sure he approved it, but I think that was a total John Lynch move. John Lynch saved the season. I credit John Lynch more than I credit Shanahan, because without CMC, there was no shot. Without CMC, Kyle Shanahan's job would have been on the line, because this would have been a losing season, and you would have had all the Niner fans. I know what it means to be in the middle of controversy, and I know that it's very easy to laugh at my stance, and just because I stick to my guns when I truly believe it to be right, it causes controversy. But I guarantee you that if the Christian McCaffrey trade was not executed and John Lynch didn't push for that, and Kyle Shanahan didn't even make the playoffs, because the Niners probably wouldn't have without Christian McCaffrey. It completely turned the entire season around. It turned around the offense. It made Purdy look a lot better than Purdy was, even though I do like Purdy a lot. I'm just saying that Christian McCaffrey was the glue, and he can make any team win. And so if that didn't happen and Kyle Shanahan didn't make the playoffs, I promise you that all the Niner fans that are laughing at me by saying Kyle Shanahan's the problem. What do you mean? He's almost coach of the year. All those people would have been talking trash about him because they were. A lot of people were. A lot of people were about to flip on Shanahan until the season got turned around. Shanahan's personnel, coaching, decision-making is the problem. His offensive coordinating, and if that's even a word, his coordinator skills, his abilities to be an offensive savant, a lot of people call him, are the reason that the Niners had success, right? I agree. And sometimes those things overpowered the coaching deficiencies that he has. But if you look at his entire offseason, he's been a debacle. From the Debo Samuel to the Jimmy G situations, multiple situations with Jimmy G, not cutting him, then saying goodbye to him, then bringing him back. It's an absolute disaster, this guy. But yet his offensive masterminding skills do keep things afloat, and that's why the Niners did look so good. And it's a give and a take, but he can't push it over the hump because he gets in his own way. He gets in his own way. And I'm not saying you could have predicted the injuries, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Niner by nature is a true objective Niner point of view that I really enjoy. So thank you, Niner by nature. I appreciate you. Patrick Queen to Texans. There's a lot of rumors going on right now. Maybe one day Shanahan will watch your show. I doubt it, Nevin, but that would be I would love to talk to him someday. Isn't the GM somewhat culpable in roster decisions as well? Yeah, and that's why John Lynch is now a hero. And honestly, I was pretty hard on John Lynch earlier in the year and the previous year. Very hard on both of them. I changed my tune on John Lynch the moment I feel like he started making some decisions and pulling some strings. I feel like he gave early on in the relationship all the power to Shanahan, who hired John Lynch. Shanahan hired John Lynch, which is such a backwards process, right? And I think that, Peanut Butter and Waivers says fire Shanahan. He's been saying it. He won't get fired. Peanut Butter and Waivers, and I know that he's not getting fired. He just had an incredible season on paper, right? And potential coach of the year talk. So people aren't going to fire him. We know that. Or Jed York's not going to fire him. We know that. But it's one thing to know that, and it's another to say, well, he's still the problem. He's the reason Deebo got one touch in the second half of the 2021 NFC Championship game. He is. Let's not get into Shanahan. We do the Shanahan stuff all the time. Anyway. I think John Lynch, I've changed my tune about John Lynch. I think John Lynch is taking more of a role in that Christian McCaffrey Stanford relationship move. You know what it had to do with John Lynch. John Lynch, hats off to John Lynch. I actually really like John Lynch now. I changed my tune. I switched really quickly when I felt like he turned a corner and started. And could Shanahan? Maybe he could. Stop that nonsense. You stop that nonsense. I can do whatever I want, Rick. This is my show. And I'll continue to talk it up all I want. In fact, here you go, Rick.
And off he goes to the planet known as Uranus.
Look who's sitting on planet Uranus, Rick. It's Shanahan. He's right there in the corner. All right. East Coast Tatty celebrating 7 months on the YouTube exclusive membership. Jets on the rise. Been waiting for this for years. Attaboy, East Coast Tatty. To the moon. You're such a boss. We love you here. You're such a positive vibe here on the Fantasy Football Show. You're always dropping exclusive memberships and being such an absolute beast, and we appreciate you. You are the man. Shanahan, the Uranus man, LOL, as head coach for sure. He's definitely the coach of the planet Uranus men. And what's funny is when I say things bad about Shanahan, people say, well, then how do you figure they won? And it's like, bro, do we really have to go through this all over again? Do I have to say, I love you too, Niner Rick. I know you're a huge Niner fan, and I respect the loyalty, to be honest with you. You guys have one of the most loyal fan bases in the world. You guys would go to bat and go to war for your Niners. So for that reason, Niner Rick, I'm always going to love my Niner followers. But I'm able to have my own opinion too, And the thing that's so annoying to me, though, is that I've got to explain over and over when people say, Smitty, explain to me how they won then. Explain to me how the Niners did so well. It's like, bro, Well, how many more times do I have to say it? He's an offensive savant. He's an offensive coordinator mastermind. So when things go well, think about it. It's the offensive coordinator that's doing well. When things go bad, when the Jimmy G situation gets dragged out, when Debo Samuel doesn't get extended and animosity is created between the fan base and Debo. Do you know how many diehard fans like Niner Rick, Niner by Nature? I'm not saying Niner by Nature said this, but I'm saying diehard people that you're like, this guy's a diehard Niner. Do you know how many diehard people have bad things? Not Niner by Nature. I didn't mean to throw you into that. I'm just saying amazingly cool Niner fans. Do you know how many amazingly cool Niner fans had bad things to say about Deebo Samuel? Animosity that Kyle Shanahan created because he didn't, and John, because they didn't sign Deebo Samuel when they knew they were going to sign him anyway. The Niner way was to wait, and that was a disaster. Not addressing the offensive line surely helped put the Niner quarterbacks in harm's way more than people like to say. Oh, is he responsible for all the quarterback injuries? Yeah, you could say there's some relation there because he didn't address the offensive line like he should have. Instead, he held on to a $27 million Jimmy G. And then you get people say, oh, Smitty, ended up being a good decision, though, didn't it? I got Smitty, didn't I? No, you didn't, because you didn't need Jimmy G if you used Jimmy G's salary to address the offensive line. Maybe Trey wouldn't have got hurt. Maybe Purdy wouldn't have got hurt. Maybe all these guys would have been fine. You didn't need Jimmy G. Jimmy G wasn't even good. It was Purdy that went in. Jimmy G was not the guy. Purdy was the guy. Purdy should have been the backup from the beginning. Like I said, Purdy was going to win more games than Jimmy G. I said it at the beginning of the year. Purdy would win more games than Jimmy G if you had to put Purdy or Jimmy G in. So I don't want to hear, oh, it was a good idea. After all, wasn't it? To sign to keep Jimmy G. I got Smitty. He feels stupid right now. No, I don't at all. Because Jimmy G was garbage. And guess what? Jimmy G is going to get a starting job somewhere. So the joke's on me. Because he's going, Jimmy G's probably going to one of these 500 teams that need a quarterback. It's not going to be the Falcons, but we'll put a little circle around Jimmy G and say, could he be a Saint? Could he be a Buck? Could he be a Panther? Could he be a Colt? Hopefully he's not a Raider or a Jet. Please, Lord. Or Miami Dolphin. Please, God. Whatever. I'm over that. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Dial into the phone. Let's go. Where's my phone button?
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Yeah, Debo ain't going anywhere. Just a recap on this Debo trade to the Patriots nonsense. It's all clickbait. It's somebody trying to generate some kind of hot topic debate. Some hot topic clicks, Rank these wide receivers for fantasy: Mike Williams, Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley, and Hopkins. I would go Ridley and Cooper, or Cooper and Ridley. Space. Probably Hopkins and Mike Williams are kind of tied, just because Hopkins is, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know where he's going to go. Mike Williams is good, but he's always injured. Jimmy G. I'm not a fan of Jimmy G, obviously. Would the Dolphins' Jimmy G still be a Moon Man? No. Absolutely not. And I've actually moved that off the Moon Man list. It's on the Satellite Men list. So the Moon Man right here.
The Moon Men, dropping loads in outer space.
This is our Moon Man list.
Space Monsters.
Most recent additions in order were it was Hall, Walker, and Kyle Pitts. Those are the most recent additions on the Moon Men list. I think the most recent was Kenneth Walker, who is going in the second round. Him and Hall are going in the second round in early mock drafting, which is just fantastic value. You're live on the Fantasy Football Show. Who am I talking to?
Smitty, it's Tony.
Tony, I'm so glad you called in, Tony. Okay, so...
Yeah, hey, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, good, man. So glad to hear from you. So on the phone, let me put this on screen so people know. On the phone is Tony, who's an attorney, and he's going to give us as much insight as he can. I don't know how familiar Tony you are with what's going on. But Alvin Kamara was indicted. I can put that information on.
Saw that.
Okay, so do you need me to read any of it to you? Or actually, let me read it to you, just so everybody that's watching that jumped in knows the context. And then I just want your initial take in general on it, and then I'm going to have some questions for you that hopefully you can answer. So Tony is an attorney.
Sure.
He's given us so much amazing insight on a lot of these situations. He's one of the most knowledgeable legal minds that I've come across, so I love Tony coming on here to talk about this stuff. But today, a Clark County grand jury has indicted Alvin Kamara and 3 accomplices on conspiracy to commit battery and battery resulting in substantial bodily harm. While Kamara's court dates were able to be moved around the past season while this was in civil court, the criminal case classification means that a court date will be set for March 2nd. Indictment meaning that, like, similar to the Deshaun Watson situation, correct me if I'm wrong, but so everybody watching knows, indictment mainly means that the DA, like in a criminal situation, tries to determine whether there's enough evidence to move forward so they don't waste any time or resources on going after something that may not end in a positive result. So and they always say you can indict a ham sandwich, yet Deshaun Watson in all 23 cases never was indicted on any of the criminal stuff. So for Alvin Kamara to be indicted, they clearly believe there's enough criminal evidence to proceed to court and try and go after Alvin Kamara. So explain to me what all this means, what you expect to happen, and then I'll ask you follow-up questions.
Yeah, sure, buddy. First of all, I do civil law. I don't really do a lot of criminal. I remember a reasonable amount of criminal law from law school. The issue of indictment versus complaint is fairly simple. In most states, there are 2 different ways that a criminal matter can be put before a court. One is on a complaint alone, which generally can be any officer of the local government. And secondly is on an indictment. An indictment means that the local prosecuting attorney has gone to a group of jurors, they're generally called grand jurors, and presented the evidence and said to those grand jurors, is there enough here for us to reasonably believe that we could win a conviction if we brought a criminal case to trial? And that means that at least, it varies by state now that I think about it, but I would guess that at least 90% of the grand jurors voted positively. I think it's in most states it's 90%. And at that point, the person is considered indicted. The indictment generally is presented to the grand jurors in the form of a complaint, and they read through that, and then the local prosecuting attorney presents the evidence, and they vote. It's comparatively simple. That process, any of the testimony that's given is secret. Now, the grand jurors can later talk about what happened, but the testimony by the witnesses, they're held to a privilege. They're not allowed to talk about their testimony outside of the presence of the grand jury. What it means in this case is that, a number of local citizens looked at the evidence against Mr. Kamara and decided that there was enough there to indict him on both battery and conspiracy to commit battery. As you recall, the video came out, 5 months ago. I don't really remember exactly when. But from what I remember of that video, I thought it was pretty compelling. And the fact that they indicted him is not surprising at all.
And that important to note real quickly, sorry to interject, but that footage that came out was a blurry cell phone self-captured footage from somebody that was trying to sell it, to like TMZ. And so it was not the raw footage. The raw footage, which the NFL, correct me if I'm wrong, is probably already seen. The NFL's probably seen it. They probably requested it. Yeah. It seems like they've got that power, right? And that footage is going to be a whole lot clearer than the footage everybody thinks is the footage. Because people run their mouth about it. Tony saying, like, it's too blurry. He won't get indicted or convicted. It's too blurry. You can't even see him. That's Bob standing 5 feet away from a monitor at an angle with the glare on a Droid 3 that's recording it, and then it's blurry. It's not the original footage. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. That's a valid point. I don't pretend to know what the clearer digital video shows, but I would presume that it's essentially more or less comporting with the rough video that we saw. And I think that the evidence there was pretty clear that Mr. Kamara himself was involved in attacking this individual. You know, we talked about this before, Smitty, that the NFL cannot just, close their eyes to one of its stars kicking a fan in the face. You just can't do that.
Especially when he's unconscious.
So the fact that he was indicted, doesn't surprise me at all. The fact that it was Clark County, obviously it's in Las Vegas, so that's not surprising. That means he's not going to have any sort of home field advantage, to use a football analogy. He's going to be on the road, as it were. Now, I have no idea who his counsel is. I haven't done any research on that. Given the fact that he's obviously got plenty of money, I'm sure that it's somebody local who is a good defense attorney. But the bottom line is, if you've got video of this guy kicking someone in the face, at a minimum, he's going to be trying to plead out. That's a best case scenario.
And a plea for people watching is a lot of people say he's going to settle. He can't settle. Settles in civil. Pleading is a form of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a form of admission to try and get out of a more severe outcome. So you're pleading when you're essentially saying, yeah, I did this. I'm pleading for a less. You're not pleading to skate out of it. And if he pleads, my understanding is the NFL will absolutely. Can you hear me okay, Tony? I think I might be on the wrong mic. Okay. The NFL will. Okay. The NFL will certainly.
I'm in my truck, just so you know.
Okay. The NFL will most certainly look at a plea as a form of admission of guilt, right?
Almost certainly. However, the short answer is yes, but, lawyers live in a different kind of world. There is a form of plea called nolo contendere, where you are essentially saying, I'm not going to admit or deny whether or not I committed the criminal act. I'm simply going to throw myself on the mercy of the court and say, do whatever you think is just. So he could enter a plea of nolo contendere, which is arguably not an admission.
Okay.
But from the NFL's perspective, they're still going to have the video. They're still going to have a guy who has been sentenced to some sort of criminal sanction, and they're not going to be able to ignore it. I think at this point, I don't even know if they can ignore it if he's found not guilty, which strikes me as, less than 1% chance.
And I don't know, so that's crazy. So you're saying you're less than 1% chance he will be found not guilty. Your total guess. We understand it's your guess, but you're saying less than 1%.
Well, yeah. Let me throw it out this way. They've clearly indicted him on battery and conspiracy to commit battery. That's the stuff that's been reported. Usually, a good prosecutor will come up with every possible criminal claim that can be made. So I would not be surprised if there have been other criminal claims that were part of the indictment. I just don't know because I haven't had time to research it. Having said that, the firm where I started at, we did some federal criminal defense work. I personally didn't do it, but some of the guys did it. And one of them once told me that amongst federal prosecutors, there's an old saying, everybody's guilty. The only question is whether they've been properly charged. So as long as the charges comport with the evidence, the odds of him getting out of it after a full-blown indictment where there is video evidence which appears to show him physically making contact with a third party, the odds of him not being convicted of something are very, very low.
So let me ask you this. I don't know how much knowledge you have on this, or I'd like to just hear your opinion. But to my knowledge, the NFL can put this man on. Usually they wait. The NFL usually waits till the criminal part plays out before they take action. But the exemplis paid is the most likely scenario because, as you said, the NFL can't stand by. And if they are going to kind of try and be parallel with the decisions of the past to some degree, because like you've always said, I believe this was your phrase, the NFL is heavy-handed 1 minute and not heavy-handed the next minute. It seems likely that the commissioner exemplis paid is the best way to say this isn't a punishment. This is telling him to go handle it, come back when it's over. And if he's innocent, then nothing happened financially to him. and he can get back to business, but he can't go onto the field on weekends and go into the courtroom during the week. I think that was another thing you had said in the past, I believe. And it's just
That's
not
correct.
a good look. What's your understanding of the exemplist option, and what do you think the NFL ends up doing?
Well, no, I think you're dead on. I think that the immediate response is probably exemplist paid because of the indictment. Now, I have to be very clear, Smitty, I don't know what the criminal process is in Nevada with regard to speedy trial. In most states, it's usually within 90 days. But the defendant can choose to extend that. So I think as of today, we have to presume that there's going to be a trial, that the trial should happen by midsummer, and that he will either be convicted or found innocent, not guilty, probably by midsummer. The odds of him choosing to continue the trial date are low, because that's obviously not to his advantage.
Why is it not to his advantage?
Well, for his playing career.
But let's say that Kamara feels that he's got a short window anyway, and he wants to be on the field. There's that perspective too, because that's essentially what he did all last year, is kept pushing it, kicking the can down the road. Part of me wonders if he wants to continue to do that versus try and get it out of the way, because the odds of him having a career after this, if he's indicted, are like zero. It's almost like, how much more time can I be on the field before they remove me from the field? You know, that's kind of my thinking, but I could be wrong.
Well, I guess what I would say is that he has an opportunity to have a decision one way or the other, probably before training camp. Now, I don't know that. Again, I don't know the, standard criminal procedure timelines in Nevada. But in most states, speedy trial requires trial within 90 days unless the defendant waives. Now, my point is, if he can get a decision, there is always the remote possibility that he's found guilty of some sort of a lesser charge. So, for example, they could find him not guilty of battery, but instead guilty of conspiracy to commit battery.
Okay.
Well, in that case, he's going to get a comparatively light sentence. And in that case, the NFL would then have some legal cover to effectively say, look, we're going to suspend him, but it doesn't have to be for a whole season.
Okay.
For example. So there is at least the possibility,
True.
with the proviso, again, that I don't know the details of Nevada law. There is at least the possibility that he could have a decision. The decision could be comparatively favorable. That decision could be made in time for the NFL to take its position. And, for example, he could be suspended for 4 games instead of a whole season.
Gotcha. I guess one other question.
And I would also throw out,
yeah,
comparatively, I mean, as a Browns fan, I almost can't help myself. We have to go back to what happened to Ben Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm.
They had some really compelling evidence there. It turned out to not go criminal, but the NFL suspended him for, what was it, 2 games?
Yeah, it's tough to say what the NFL do here. Plus, Tony, when that footage was released, I went live at midnight when it broke. I literally went live 5 minutes after, and I'm thinking, we're ahead of everybody. No one else went live on this. No one had a video on it. I was the only one on YouTube doing it. Woke up the next morning, nothing. The next day, nothing. Nobody reported on it. Nobody even cared. And so, it's hard to know what kind of pressure the NFL is going to be under, because we don't know what kind of coverage it's going to get, because that shocked me. That all these, shows out there, media sources didn't even think it was worth, viewing. Like, it was crazy. And I know the footage was grainy and bad because, like I said, somebody recorded with a cell phone away from the monitor, and it was just a bad recording. But what are the odds in your this is a total guess, I understand. What are the odds do you think that the actual better, clearer version of this footage gets released in a more like solid amount of footage, like lengthwise? Do you think that there's a shot that happens because?
Yeah, of course. I think it boils down to what the NFL chooses it would prefer to have the outcome be. as we discussed back, I remember that night. I don't know if you remember. I called in, and I agree. I was a little bit surprised that it didn't get more media play, but at some level, the NFL was kind of holding back to wait and see where this thing went. I don't know exactly what the NFL wants to do with an Alvin Kamara situation. Who knows? It depends on the mood that Roger Goodell happens to be in. I don't know. If the sort of build up in the media is that, hey, Kamara was a bit player in all of this, that the victim sort of started the altercation for whatever reason. Who knows? Maybe the NFL says, look, we're not going to turn Alvin Kamara into some sort of an example. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, if the PR position is negative, well then sure, I would bet they would disclose or make that video public instantly. It depends on how they want to defend themselves. The NFL is all about the NFL.
Yeah.
They're not about Alvin Kamara.
And Tony, hold on. I got the script right here. I'm going to look at it and see if Alvin Kamara gets convicted. According to the script, he misses the entire season. I got the script right here. It's all scripted. I'm just kidding. So
okay.
Yeah, you know how everybody says it's scripted. The whole NFL's rigged.
Yeah. Well.
It's the whole the whole narrative right now.
I know.
Hey, so my last question, Tony, and first of all, everyone loves when you call in, man. The whole chat is like, Tony's the man, Tony to the moon. You need to call in on a regular basis. The phone line's always open. Save this number and just dial in when you're driving home, whenever you're going somewhere, just dial in and we'll talk about whatever you want, Tony. Everyone loves when you call in.
That's very kind, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, what I was going to say last is, okay, so Alvin Kamara, let's say, it's so hard to predict what the NFL is going to do because, like you said, heavy hand, light hand. It's so inconsistent. But let's say that nothing more comes of anything. Okay, what are the odds in your projected, expert opinion, just your opinion? What are the odds the NFL does something before the season begins? If let's say this trial goes into the season. Okay, because that's kind of what I expect him to try and do. But like you said, he might want to get it over with just because he thinks he can get out of it. Or his attorney says, look, we're gonna get this down to the smaller charge, like you said, or the smaller conviction.
Yeah.
But if, let's say, it dips into the season and there's no answer yet, right? We don't have an answer. Is he playing until
no.
You think the NFL steps in and says paid leave? That's kind of what I've been saying. Paid leave.
Yeah,
go work it out.
That's kind of why I lean toward a good attorney, a good criminal defense attorney, is going to push very hard to see if there's a reasonable plea that can be found here. Now, that may involve some unpleasantries for Mr. Kamara, such as testifying against his friends, who were also involved in the altercation. But a good defense attorney would find a reasonable plea, get him out of there as quickly as possible, and then go on bent knee to the NFL and say, look, this guy started it. I understand I shouldn't have done it. I understand that you have to take some sort of action. And if the NFL is trying to be reasonable, they give him a 4-game suspension and he misses the first 4 games.
That would be a win for Kamara.
I think it would too, but that's just one possible scenario. Right. I cannot say definitively. I'm telling you my gut instinct as to what I think is. I think he ends up getting anywhere from 2 to 6 games, and I think it gets done before the season starts.
Okay, I appreciate that take. That's kind of the takeaway here. I think most people want to know what to expect. So 2 to 6 games at the beginning of the year maybe comes back. Tony, my last question, and then I'll let you go because I know you're a busy guy. What is the percentage chance these things get worse for him and he could face something like prison time, like for the assault? Is there any sort of scenario you could see that happening, or because he's such a big name that's not happening? Or is there like, hey, if there's footage that we don't even see where there's clear, guys unconscious, they continue to kick him, there's more footage of it. Is there a possibility of something more severe happening?
Officially, just in case any of my fellow local attorneys are listening, who the hell knows? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Unofficially, just between me and you, I doubt it. Not because he's a big name, but because the facts in this case are somewhat complicated. And what I mean is separating out the criminal liability. Who's really the bad guy here? Was Alvin Kamara really individually the bad guy in this altercation? I doubt it. Now, one of the people working for him may have been. Let's not forget, the quote-unquote victim may have started this. I don't know that. I don't pretend to know.
Yeah.
But the point is, this is not as if Alvin Kamara walked up to an old lady crossing the street
True.
at noon on a Tuesday and hit her in the back of the head with a baseball bat.
True. I mean,
Not
you make
the same thing.
you make a good point in like a reality check of the severity of it at the end of the day. Like what I've heard, and I again don't know exactly what happened. I wasn't there. I haven't seen the full footage. This is what reports have suggested. So this is all hearsay. But the word is that this guy was yapping away, I'm sure, saying some of the most belligerent things to Alvin Kamara at a casino. I imagine that he was probably, sipping back on a few. Total guess on my part. Yep. But this guy was yapping away and probably saying awful things to Kamara. Probably a fan of another team.
Probably.
And so Kamara reportedly put his hand on his chest to push him out of the elevator or prevent him from coming in the elevator. Like, take the next one, buddy. Guy slaps his hand off of his, chest to say, "Don't touch me," and that slap initiated the jumping of the dude. So, like, to your point,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, to your point, you could argue good guy, bad guy, all that stuff, and I think you're probably right. I don't think there's any sort of prison time or anything like that awaiting him because, like you said, it wasn't some planned. No. I'm going to go attack this person or do something premeditated. It was a brawl that got out of hand. And back in the day, you could do this stuff. You could sock someone and it would be okay. But in today's world, it's different. Tony, appreciate you coming on here. And Tony's prediction, again, just a total guess, 2 to 6 game suspension at the beginning of the year, and that this thing's resolved before the season starts later in the summer. A very good guess. I believe you're probably the most accurate prediction so far that I've heard. So I think that's probably going to be the most likely. Maybe mine's 6 to 8 games, but he could be out the entire season too, if he, in my opinion, if he drags this thing out, and let's say he drags this out and the court case can't complete until later on in the year. I think the NFL has to put him on paid leave and wait. So to your point earlier, it's to his advantage to get it done early because the NFL will be forced to say, until it's solved, you're on paid leave, bro. And then he's like, oh, that was a misstep on my part. I could have got it out of the way, got the 6 to 8 games, the 2 to 6 games or whatever.
Yep. A good defense attorney would have already picked up the phone and started talking about a plea.
Yeah, which is an admission of guilt to a degree, right? So it's going to result.
Yeah, but it depends on exactly what he pleads to.
Right.
If he pleads to conspiracy, that the elements of that do not necessarily include physical contact.
Now, how much of this can tie to financial restitution? Like, we know that the civil is for monetary, but in terms of medical and costs involved of this guy's recovery, is that something that would make the individual, the alleged victim, say, like, okay, like I am advising, because I'm advising that I would be okay with this plea, this lesser plea of conspiracy, which would be no physical harm if you pay my medical bills above this amount and give me more for suffering. And then the civil is a whole different case.
Right. It's a variable that can play a part. We don't know that at this moment, but yes, it can be a relevant variable.
Okay.
Yep.
Tony, appreciate you, my guy.
Forgive me, buddy. I got to get going.
Yeah. Tony, anytime, call in.
Good to talk to you, brother.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, man. Be good.
Yep. What a boss. Tony is the man. Appreciate you all being here for that, because that's some good information. I'm going to cut this up and upload this entire clip, and I'd appreciate if all you guys would give it a view and comment and talk about Tony's amazing analysis. That is a lot of him trying to give his best guess, so none of that is He doesn't have any inside information in the case. He hasn't read everything. I haven't read everything. We're going off of the best amount of information we can get our hands on, and it's completely our opinions. And so appreciate Tony coming on here to talk about it. Thank you, Tony Smitty, for sharing. Thank you, Terry Roberts, for the super chat. Appreciate you. Thank you all for joining me today. That was a pretty darn good show. And if anybody would like to dial in real quickly and follow up on anything Tony said, the phone lines are open briefly, and then I'll take some calls.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
So dial in. Nevin says Tony's a menace. Tony, he means that in the best way. You're a menace in an amazing way, is what he means. Appreciate Tony. You know who else is a menace? These moon men.
The moon men. Dropping loads in outer space.
And the Mars men.
He's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars men.
You're live on the Fantasy Football Show. Who am I talking to?
It's Charlotte calling from Fremont, California.
Who?
It's Charlotte calling from Fremont, California. I love your show, man. Love your content.
Thank you, Chardell. Appreciate you. What can I do for you?
So I'm a 49er fan, and I'm sick and tired of these rumors being thrown around that Debo Samuel's going to go to the Patriots. I mean, that's not going to happen. I mean, Debo's a great player. I don't know who's saying that's going to happen. I mean, that's all nonsense and BS. I mean, it's not going to happen. I mean, if you think that's going to happen, you gotta stop saying that, because, I got a Debo Samuel jersey, and, if he goes to New England, my jersey is going to be vintage, because I got a jersey right now, and that jersey is not going to, be worth anything if he gets traded. So
don't do it because of his
whoever's
jersey.
Saying that stuff needs to stop saying that, because that's not true.
Who's saying it?
People,
I'm just checking. I'm just checking. I'm just checking. You don't think I'm saying it? I want to hear if you're going to go. You.
No, you're not saying it. But other people are saying. Saying that he's going to get traded.
Yeah. We covered it at the top of the show. Rewatch the show if you haven't seen it from the beginning. But basically what I do is whenever there's a piece of news out there that's floating around to the degree it's making people like Chardell upset about his jerseys. He's got these vintage, or not vintage, they're current jerseys of Deebo lined up in his closet, and he's petrified of these ridiculous rumors, right? I agree with you. It's a ridiculous rumor, and I cover it. But the reason I go live on it, like the title of my show, there's going to be a lot of worried Williams, Chardell. They're going to comment in my video without watching it. They're going to say, Smitty, why are you spreading rumors about Deebo? But the reason I go live on these things that are upsetting Chardell, upsetting diehard Niner fans that just bought the brand new Debo Samuel jersey, they don't want it going to the closet vintage style. When they upset people enough to the degree you're upset calling my show as a Niner fan, I have to address it and shoot it down. So a lot of what I do is shoot down rumors or confirm them or work out scenarios that make it like, can we reasonably argue that there's a way that Shanahan and John Lynch would accept the Deebo trade? There's like a minute possibility in a certain weird way. We break it down, but end of day, you look at the dead cap hit. You look at the fact that the Niners are in win now mode. There's really not one benefit to trading Debo Samuel. So I think you're right. I think your jerseys are completely safe. I think you can wear it with confidence that you're not going to be at some restaurant digging into a burger, bro, and somebody goes, bro, you're wearing a vintage jersey. Debo just got traded. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I tell people that, it doesn't matter, man. Like, I'm going to wear that jersey. I'm going to rock that with pride. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if he gets traded, man.
Loyal.
I'll wear a vintage jersey to a restaurant, and then if you call me out for it, then I have no problem with you calling me out
rock
for it.
it.
I get called out all the time, man.
Bro, we both know.
Everybody calls me out.
We both know you're wearing.
Everybody calls me out.
You're wearing Niner underwear, Debo socks. We both know you're rocking it no matter what, bro. You're a loyal Niner fan, and no one's going to take that away from you. But don't worry, no one's taking Deebo away from you either, okay?
I mean, I'm a longtime Niner fan. I've been rooting on this team for so many years. I love this team, and this team is electric. When they're on the field, they can make some great things on the field. But I love your show, man. I love that you shoot down rumors, because I know everybody brings the rumors, and nobody likes to hear those, because everybody wants to hear positive news. That we got a good player. Nobody wants to hear that somebody got traded.
I work for you, bro. Shardell, I work for you.
I would, I have my own YouTube channel, and I would love for you to come on, man. We can chop up some Niner football together.
All right, DM me on Instagram, The Fantasy Football Show.
Yeah.
Appreciate you,
That
Shardell.
would be really great, man. I
Wear
want to
that
collaborate
jersey.
with you. I never collaborated with the content creator like you, man. You're great.
Shine that Debo jersey, pal. Appreciate you.
See you later, Smitty.
All right, later. Yeah, I'm going to call in and talk about Kamara like this. Lee, call in. Tell me how you got a Kamara jersey. This can't be true, because you don't want it to become a vintage jersey. Shardell is pretty good. He's passionate, man. That guy does not want he's wearing that jersey. He's rocking that jersey no matter what. This is the kind of guy that would have rocked the Aaron Hernandez jersey anyway, like later, and be like, no, I'm still wearing it. I just got it. I just got it. I'm not taking off the Aaron Hernandez jersey. I just bought it. What am I supposed to do with it? Put it on without my arms in it? Anybody remember that photo? Anyway, still have my T-Mac jersey. Love the Rockets. Yeah, vintage, baby, vintage. All right, anybody else got a Shardell?
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Oh, that was great. That was a good call. Shardell is going to become a favorite. He sounded a little bit worried. He did. Shardell, I'm not going to lie. You sounded a little bit worried, but I'm glad we were able to calm you down. And I love Deebo to play for my Patriots. But what are they going to do with Debo Samuel? Like, they say they're sniffing around, and they're not. The Patriots aren't saying that. It's one report, someone trying to cause waves. But what are they going to do? What are they going to do with Debo Samuel? They can't even use him. I saw a guy I respect as a Patriots guy. He had a page, or he has a page on Instagram, and he wrote something like, hear me out. I don't think we should sign a wide receiver because we still have Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith we need to get on the right page. Like, this team avoided drafting wide receivers, and they draft double tight ends thinking they're Hernandez and Gronk. Here's Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. We're going to go out there and destroy. What are they going to do with Debo Samuel? What are they going to do with Debo Samuel? Shardell, it's not happening, bro. Smitty, remember to play my IG video. Okay, thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat, my guy. All right, this is from Rockout. Rockout was amazing dropping this rap right here. Thank you. Here it is.
We move, walking, talking, jogging. This is how we going. Got it unstoppable, undeniable.
Moonwalking.
The Moon Man, dropping loads in outer space.
Nice beat there, broski. Appreciate you, Rockout, for dropping that. This is a message from Kevin.
Smitty, I want to hear this Deebo news. What you think about the Patriots?
Well, that's a little late, but watch the beginning. Here, let me watch the beginning of the show, bro. I explain it in tremendous detail, but he ain't going anywhere. Plus, Shardell's got a brand new Deebo jersey. He can't have it. All right, this one's from B-Man.
I see you have George Pickens as a moon man.
We do.
Do you see a big leap from Kenny Pickett to support Deontay, George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, Najee Harris? Or are you just expecting a big output out of George Pickens?
Let's see here. So I think I like Pickett a little bit. I don't love him, but he could. Yeah, I'm open-minded to how good he could become. I don't think he'll ever be a top 8 quarterback or anything like that. He's not going to be a starting fantasy football quarterback for anybody, in my opinion. That means he's not going to be a top 12 fantasy quarterback. But a backup, a really good fantasy backup, and competent enough to where you're getting numbers that are going to produce Pickett 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 yards, 10 TDs, 95 to 100 receptions. Very, very capable. I think Pickett will be good enough for that. Not to mention some of my moon men and predictions don't just have redraft ramifications. It's a lot of it's about Pickett and his future too. And so if Pickett doesn't work out and Pickens doesn't have Pickett there and they resolve the quarterback situation a different way, I think ultimately he's going to be a monster. But I think he'll do well enough under Pickett. I think Pickett's not bad. He's serviceable, and I think he'll get better. So thank you for that question, B-Man. And if anybody else wants to drop voicemails on the daily, all you got to do is go to, let's see here. I got to leave him a message letting him know I answered his question. B-Man, appreciate you. If anybody wants to drop voicemails on the daily to me, all you got to do is go right here. Go to The Fantasy Football Show on Instagram, at The Fantasy Football Show. Hit that subscribe button, which is $4.99 a month, and you can leave me a daily voicemail if you want, and I'll play it on the show and answer your question. So DM me after you do that. I'll put you in the live chat where you can ask those questions. Plus, you get thrown into a live group of people that are also paying $4.99, so you're all in one private chat together, and you can ask each other questions all day long, and they're all serious about getting back to each other because they're all paying $4.99. You start paying something, even if it's small, like $4.99 a month. That's a half a cup of coffee. If you're paying something like that, you're going to be serious. You're going to take it seriously, so you're going to get good help from everybody. But if you want to drop voicemails in the voicemail group, you just heard me play on the daily. I'll play it and answer them on the daily. Hit subscribe, $4.99. Cancel anytime. Ron Navy, you're live on the Fantasy Football Show.
Smitty. I saw you trying to use your words very, what do you want to say?
Carefully, but no, but I wasn't actually. That's my true opinion. Like I wasn't even trying to dance around the Pickett like concern I have, because I know you love him. That's how I truly feel. I don't really curb my opinion for anybody, but I know that, and I joke around with you when I know you're listening, because I'm like, oh, Ron's gonna hate this. But Pickett, I genuinely have an open mind. That's the way I feel about him, that he could be better than I expect. Like, I'm open-minded to it. But do I have concerns that he'll ever be top 12, top 10 in the NFL? Yeah, I do. But I also feel like I'm open-minded to it. Like, it wouldn't shock me if he was the 11th best quarterback in the NFL and he's feeding Pickett like crazy. Pickett to Pickens is a pretty good thing. We know that it's a good rapport. He laser locks on him. And when Pickett's in there, Pickens does well. When Trubisky is in there, I wanted to call him Mariota. When Trubisky's in there, same thing, right? Trubisky's in there, it's all Deontay Johnson. And so Pickett is definitely the best thing for Pickett right now that's available. I just don't know if he becomes a top 10 quarterback, but he certainly is good for Pickett. I don't think he's bad for Pickett. So much so I don't care about putting him on the Moon Man list without knowing, you know? What do you think?
I think he's going to surprise everybody. I think people are down on him. People are like, I think he's going to be one of those quarterbacks that come this next year, he's going to light it up on fire. He's going to be – his decision-making is awesome, especially in the first year. He's only going to get better. And
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope he's Goff good. If he can be Goff good, then
he's gonna be better than Golf.
Then that's good. Drop a golf emoji. If he can be better than the Golf Meister, then you're on your way, bro. Because I think the Steelers can be a top 12 team, top 10 team with that kind of quarterback, in place. With Tomlin, and I know you have your differences with Tomlin sometimes, but I think overall it's a really good team that just needs some good QB play. But I don't know. I don't worry enough about it. I like Pickett to Pickens enough to put Pickens on the Moon Man list without even seeing the improvement that I'm hoping I see. So that's good. Like if Pickens can get an improved quarterback to the tune you're talking about, Pickens' value is going to go even way higher than I have it. And I'm high on him. Hey, what did you think about Tony, the attorney, talking about Alvin Kamara? Did you catch all that?
Yeah, I caught it.
I mean, it's pretty good information. I'm gonna cut it up and put that segment on YouTube. So I appreciate if everybody give it a view, a like, a comment. But his prediction is 2 to 6 games at the beginning of the year. The case gets resolved in the summer before the season begins because it's to Kamara's advantage to try and plea out into a admission of guilt, so to speak, but to a lesser conspiracy charge. And that's his total guess. But there are 2 charges, as Tony alluded to. There's 2 charges: 3 accomplices on conspiracy to commit battery and battery resulting in substantial bodily injury. One of which is injury to the body and physical harm. The other one's conspiracy. So that's interesting that he said it that way, and I'm very glad we had Tony call in because there are two things things that he's being indicted for or whatever. So for it to be the conspiracy charge without bodily injury, 2 to 6 games, 8 games. I think it's gonna be 6 to 8 games. He says 2 to 6 games, but it's interesting to think that maybe his attorneys will advise him to speed it along, so he can have a shot, versus the NFL putting him on the pine for the whole year.
I don't care about his career. I really don't.
Right.
I honestly don't. I think the guy should be in jail, to tell you the truth. Yeah. This whole stuff that he's bargaining. What's this conspiracy without bodily harm? They put the guy in jail. They could have killed him. He has seriously life-threatening
I agree with
injuries. Kamara needs to go away. I just why I stay away from him. I don't want to do with the guy. He should. To the moon. These people that are hard profile get away with too much stuff. They need to be held accountable, because as soon as they're not held accountable, then where's the justice system in that? There's no justice in that. Poor guy's laying in the hospital fighting for his life, and this guy gets 2 to 6 games.
Keep in mind, though, that he might have a hand in wanting the lesser charge because of the potential plea. Like he won't necessarily have full control. It'll be like Tony said. It'll be a component maybe. He's just guessing, but like it could be a component where the plea includes X amount of money for medical, because the civil is all monetary, suing for damages to the his well-being and just suing for whatever. And civil is so much easier to win. And usually civil, 90% of all civil settled. It's not actually goes to court and goes the distance. It's almost 90% always settled in civil. But in criminal, if the plea happens, that's an admission of guilt, and so the plea might be like, hey, to the alleged victim, if we offer him a plea on conspiracy, it'll be a lot lesser charge for him. But in that plea, he's agreeing to pay you $2 million in medical bill damage, and so the guy's like, sign me up for the $2 million. So it might be to the victim's benefit to let him skate by a little bit, because he's not going to prison anyway. So we'll see. But I hear you, Ron. I think he's a POS in a lot of ways.
I'm not saying that anybody's wrong saying how it's more than likely to work out. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Just like you have your personal opinion with Pickett, and obviously Max does too, and Mitch and these guys. Oh, he's better weapons. Well, yeah, it takes those good weapons to. I mean, a quarterback, if he has bad weapons, he can't be an efficient quarterback, can he? Most of the time, and Pickett and Pickens and the better weapons, they're only as good as Pickett can throw him the ball accurately and put it where he needs to put it, and he's proven he can do that. And he's proven that he's very good at making decisions. So he's only going to get better. That was his rookie year, and he didn't play a full season. So, his sophomore year, give him a chance. Watch, he's going to surprise a lot of people.
I hear you, bro. And I'm glad you got conviction.
I just responded to Mitch and Max in the chat. So
yeah, that's right. I mean, we're all entitled to our opinions. And Ron, you're right. I agree with you on the big picture of Kamara. Like, it sucks to watch people skate by when they do things like this. But it is what it is. And I'm glad that Tony, the attorney, came on and gave us some clarity around some of the details. Like, he's always good at that. But Ron, I appreciate you. I'll be live tonight. Anything else you want to add before I bounce out of here?
No, other than the fact that, Max is laughing now. These guys know how to get to me, and you know how to get. Everybody knows how to push Ron Navy's button. Just talk about a Steeler, and bam, there he goes. Whoop,
hey, but Ron, don't let it bother you though, because people.
No, it's not bothering me. I'm good.
But people talk trash about Just picture all the people that talk trash about our Walker predictions, or Kenneth Walker predictions, and how silly they look now. So you just stick to your guns, bro. You stick to your guns, your Steeler guns, and you go forward.
It's no different than a 49er fan as far as sticking up for my team, you know?
Yeah, you're just being loyal. And you're also, your gut says that Pickett's going to be good. Look, hey, if anybody laughing at Ron right now wants a little reality check, Ron Navy said stay away from DeAndre Swift. He said you were all crazy for liking DeAndre Swift. So Ron, you got a big win there that you can just rub in people's faces. So
I don't like rubbing things in people's faces. I put my opinions out there. I'm just like you. We all and you and me disagree on a lot of our opinions, but I mean, some of them come out right, some of them come out dead wrong.
Hey Ron, let me show you the new king of planet Uranus.
And off he goes to the.
His name is Alvin Kamara.
Right? Uranus.
Alvin Kamara.
Oh, is it? There we go.
Planet Uranus. All right, Ron, appreciate you. I'll see you tonight. We're going to be live around midnight.
The thing about that is you got him in 2 best ball drafts.
Yeah, we talked about where my new value would be. And you know what, to be honest, that's in 7th round, if he was only out for 2 to 6 games, it would still be decent value. But I think I'd be more around the 8th round, but I would take him in a best ball, because best ball is different. Like, you don't have to weather through. Like in a regular draft, I'd probably avoid them altogether. But in a best ball draft, if you've got other people contributing and you don't have to worry about setting your lineup, it's set for you. I think the 8th round for Kamara missing 2 to 6 games would still be good. But I'm definitely an avoid Kamara and redraft that isn't best ball. And Kamara he shouldn't be owned in the Dynasty League. What?
You got enough around him to if he's suspended, to weather the storm and take a chance on him, and if he doesn't work out, you have enough players that should win better.
Because 7th, 8th round is like almost handcuff territory. Like, it's crazy. All right, Ron, appreciate you. See you tonight, pal.
Talk to you later. All right, bye.
All right, guys, I'm out of here. Appreciate you. Thank you for all the super chats. Terry Roberts dropping another one. Ron needs a super. There you go. Terry Roberts dropping a super for you, Ron. Because Terry
to the moon.
Terry's a man, a friend, an amazing individual, and he wants to give Ron Navy some love. He's not liking some of the Steeler hate in the chat. First of all, Ron, the chat normally is way, way pro Ron Navy, so I wouldn't worry too much about a couple of Steeler comments. You normally have Ron Navy's the man. Can we all drop some Ron Navy emojis? You know where they are. Go to if anybody's a YouTube exclusive member, drop a Ron Navy emoji. Let Ron Navy know that you know that he knows that you know that he's got an emoji on this channel that the YouTube exclusive members have access to only. So drop some Ron Navy emojis on the way out the door. I will see you all at midnight Eastern. Thank you. And thank you to Javi. Javi, you still here, bro? I super appreciate your super chat earlier. So I'm continuing to throw this out there until I see Javi. Javi, are you here? Javi, appreciate you, Javi. We got a lot of Ron Navy emojis getting dropped. Appreciate you all. See you tonight at midnight Eastern. People are getting burrowed left and right, and people are going to remember it.
Get burrowed.